Hello, everyone. Welcome. And so, offering a welcome is kind of sharing my joy and happiness with being here with all of you. And I think a welcome carries the most value if it's offered quite personally. Um, if it was every other word came out of my mouth was welcome to everybody and everyone, it might feel kind of an automatic pilot and not mean much. But there's a personal, if it feels personal, like the person personally feels the welcome, or some of the fullness of the person is welcoming you into their space, it can feel kind of richer or fuller or something. And perhaps sometimes when you come to some place where you really do feel welcomed, it feels like all of you is welcome. Like you feel it personally. It's like you're maybe in your bones, in your muscles, in your heart. It just feels like it's a full experience of oneself that's being welcomed. So I would like to do something offer something a little unusual for a Buddhist meditation, and that is to really take it personally. Welcome yourself fully, allow yourself to be welcomed fully. But you really let this meditation be very personal. Sometimes the wisdom teachings in our tradition, people say, don't take it personally, whatever happens. And it's very freeing to not take something personally. And we have a thought, maybe it's a horrendous thought, and don't take it personally. Meaning, don't define yourself by it. Don't let it be the whole being of who you are. Just let it be something like the weather that kind of wanders through, and that it's impacts us, but it's not us. So don't take it personally. But today, I'd like to suggest it to really take things personally. Well, don't take it. The word "taking" is a evocative word that maybe is part of the problem of it all. But let it all be personal, but personal in a particular way, not personal in terms of letting yourself be defined by it, where your ideas and memories and ideas of the future, your stories of self come into play, but rather the kind of cozy personal that you maybe, if you were engrossed in a very good book and really kind of comfortable on the couch reading, and you wouldn't call it personal, but something very settled and full and whole is there, just being in the pleasure of the reading. That maybe after a full week of activity and you go for a walk in a park, and everything falls away, your concerns and your problems and issues, and it's just so nice and feel full. You feel kind of fullness and happiness of just being alive and walking in the park. And it's very personal, the sense of aliveness. Maybe it's spring and you feel like spring inside. So not taking it personally, not making it personal, but experiencing it personally with all of who you are. So as we sit today, maybe there's a place that has depth in you, or breadth in you, or fullness in you, of what is personal, that's not your identity, not what you think about yourself, but something how you feel or be, and it's so personal. And as meditation goes deeper and deeper, in a way it's very personal. It's not someone else's experience. It's this experience of this body, this person here. So maybe by going personal today and going all the way personal, something drops away. Some self-concerns, self-preoccupations, and some ego drops away, because there's no room for ego in the depth and fullness of what's most personal. So assuming a meditation posture, which is also very personal. Each person finds their own posture and comfort. And gently closing the eyes. And with the eyes closing, sometimes you feel we're coming into a personal world. Here, maybe a little bit internal. And then taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. And on the exhale, letting go of your thoughts, your concerns, your ideas, reactions to what I've said. Maybe in the exhale, letting go of a certain kind of self-preoccupation that travels in the highways and byways of your thinking. And as you let go of, relax your body. Letting your breathing return to normal. And gently on the exhales, relax. And there's a settling in as the body relaxes, the shoulders, the belly, maybe the thighs can soften. The arms and the hands. And there can be a settling in, a coming home to oneself as the body begins to soften. Breathing in and breathing out. This relaxing deeply in the core of your being, relaxing, settling into what is more personal than personal. That which is more personal than how you usually define yourself, think of yourself. In the depths of your being, let this meditation be personal. Maybe the breathing, your breathing can be a gentle invitation to come deep within, where all of you is welcomed. And as all of you is welcomed, there's a letting go of what is superficial. There's a relaxing into the depths of our being. Breathing through the depths, breathing with the depths of our fullness, our beingness. And whatever happens during this meditation, it's all okay. But assume that it's a means of relaxing into something deeper, more personal. not the what's on the surface of your thoughts and feelings and ideas, but almost from like the place where from where they arise, the depths of who you are. Breathe there. Trust the depths that's within you. too often, thinking takes us away from the depths and fullness of what is most personal here with us. More personal than our history and our plans. Here, deep within this body and heart, may be a quiet place, a warm place, where we can sit with what is most personal here and now. let your thinking mind be. That kind of quiet that allows you to feel or listen to the fullness or the depth of your what's most personal here as you sit quietly and breathe. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, to reflect for a moment how when you are most comfortable with yourself, at peace with yourself, at home with yourself, how when this might happen, that you become a message. The medium is the message. You become a walking message that it's possible to be at peace, possible to be at home and comfortable with oneself. And this is a gift for the world where so many people don't have that experience. And perhaps with whatever degree, way that you are now, that maybe you're more settled or maybe more willing to find a way to be at at home in yourself in this deep personal way. May this serve to bring greater well-being and peace to this world, whether it's directly or intentionally or indirectly, unintentionally. May the benefits of this meditation we've done today, with all the many of us doing this together across the globe, may it spread from us in benefit for everyone. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. And may we each find ways to contribute to this possibility. Thank you. So, finding our way in this challenging world, finding our way with the personal challenges we have and with our minds and all that. And one of the things we're navigating and working with, is the navigating the terrain of happiness and suffering. And in Buddhists talk a lot about suffering. It's a big word for some people. Sometimes some people who come new to Buddhism are a little disturbed by how often we talk about suffering, because suffering just seems like such a, monumental thing. But we use the term in a wide way. And but one of the ways I like to use it today, happiness and suffering, is something that's deeper than contentment, deeper than gladness, deeper than joy. That happiness is something that's deeply personal, and that the opposite of that, suffering, is also something deeply personal. That some of the greatest suffering that people experience is when they've been a personal violation, whether it's a physical violation against your body, or whether it's been a violation against some deep sense of trust, or deep violation about who you are as a person, or in a relationship to others. And I remember many years ago that a friend of mine had her car broken into, and she felt it was such a deep violation. Somehow the car represented so much more than just a car. And so our sense of safety and place in this world, our sense of belonging, and it is a very personal issue. And to have this sense of belonging, have a sense of connection to the world, or our sense of meaning, personal meaning and purpose, have a sense of, or even our sense of worth, of our personal value, somehow dismissed or destroyed or threatened, can cause a lot of suffering. It isn't just a simple suffering that I have a flat tire and I came late to an important meeting. It's something that's deeply personal, and with that, it's we can have deep conditioning factors within us. On the corollary, there's the same for happiness. It's not this happiness that, oh, now I fixed the tire, and that's great, I'm not stuck here anymore, and I think I'll get to the meeting on time. That's nice, and certainly can be happy around that. But by the time you get to the meeting, you've forgotten about the tire and what happened there. But the happiness, the real sukha, Pali word, the real happiness of the Dharma is something very personal that touches something very deep within us, a fullness, and is overlaps with a deep feeling of a sense of belonging or meaning or purpose, overlaps with a sense of worth and value that is full, that sense of personal confidence. And so there's a fullness, there's a depth to it. Some people might take exceptions to my repeated use of the word personal today. I do it a little bit because it's something Buddhists don't tend to use, to really kind of challenge you to look deep into yourself, into a fullness. Of course, there's a common teaching in Buddhism not to take things personally. And I understand this to mean it's the taking. It's the appropriation of things and saying, this is who I am. The act of defining ourselves by something, the act of proving ourselves or building up a self, building up this edifice of ego that we have, which keeps us in some ways superficial. The happiness of sukha, this happiness of the Dharma, is something that's fuller, deeper than anything that you could take personally, or assume to be, or define yourself by. It's not about definitions. It's more like being so comfortable with yourselves that you don't need to be defined by anything. You don't need to prove yourself towards anyone. You have nothing to fear because it's so deep. The personal is so deep. It's kind of like we tap into some depth inside of peace, of well-being, of personalness that can't be touched, can't be hurt. No matter what other people do to us, maybe this is a place that is a reservoir of well-being. So it's very personal. Now, in terms of, so part of the theme of this week is the pendulum, that there is a kind of happiness and suffering that live in relationship to each other, and you set up one, and it's almost like preparing the ground for the other to come back and forth. And that's when we take things personally in a superficial way. We take things personally by some appropriated identity or definition that is not really who we are. So, for example, if I define myself by being a YouTube producer, producing shows for YouTube or whatever, and then the technology works well for a few months, like it has lately, I could feel really happy about myself. But when somehow I forget to push the right buttons, then the happiness that comes from the praise I get from others and the delight others have with my great capacity on YouTube plummets, and then I feel miserable because I forgot to push the right buttons, and so then I feel unhappy and I suffer, and so that pendulum, that happiness and suffering is dependent on these kind of superficial things and fragile things. It's because reality is always changing. It sets up for crashing and building ourselves up again. So finding our way with the superficial will keep us superficial. The Dharma practice is to connect to something deep, something that's not defined by these superficial things, or it's not influenced or affected by what happens. It's not affected by what other people think about us, believe it or not. Not affected by whether we're successful or a failure in the things that we do. We do things sincerely and honestly, and some succeed and some fail. But the depth of our being, where we really reside and live inside, where we're comfortable with ourselves, that is not that is not touched. That stays intact. And um, so to not know the depth of, and be comfortable and resolved and healed in the depth of us, can leave that depths in a place that there's a lot of suffering. But if we heal it and work with it and relax and open and deeply in it, and this deep personal place where we can find peace and home and trust and refuge, it's not exactly a pendulum anymore. It abides by itself. And if it falls away, it doesn't necessarily go into despair or deep suffering. But deep suffering is there if we take things personally. Deep suffering is not there if we are personal, if we abide and rest in that which is deep and full and complete inside of ourselves. And so in Buddhism, we're quite fond of talking about not self. And one way to bring these two things together that I'm talking about today, and not self, is that when we are so personal, so at home, so resting what's most personal, most intimate, most full, that flows from within us, it's so full, it's so complete, it's so that there's no tendency or desire to define a self out of it, to find a self in it, to want a self in it, to hold on to a self there. The kind of idea of me, myself, and mine, those kinds of concerns, just fall away. Just as maybe someone who's involved in wonderful play or wonderful sport or wonderful playing of music, they can get lost and lost in the what they're doing. We say lost, completely absorbed in what they're doing. And it just feels so complete and good to be there. And there doesn't occur to them while they're doing the activity the usual thoughts about myself and me, myself, and mine. So the same way we meditate or in the Dharma, this deep personal place where we can find comfort, belonging, healing, happiness, well-being. If we really can learn to be there and trust it and allow ourselves to get quiet enough to really be absorbed in it, there's no movement in the mind, no tendency of the mind for me, myself, and mine. From the point of view of the surface, where we think a lot about me, myself, and mine, and we live in that world of me, myself, and mine, they might, when I say these things, might immediately come, but I am a me, and there are things that are mine. So from the logic of that more superficial world, yes, and maybe what I'm saying doesn't make sense, but that superficial world, that's the world where the pendulum of suffering and happiness live in relationship to each other, and we kind of get trapped in the pendulum. We can swing back and forth maybe, and it never ends. But the depth of who we are, the depth of well-being, the peace of the Dharma that's within us, the Dharma, and so when you become yourself fully in this personal way, then it's said, then the Dharma becomes the self. When you are yourself, the Dharma is the Dharma. You are the Dharma then. So, thank you, and look forward to coming back tomorrow and having our meeting in 24 hours. So, thank you.